Charles, I am sorry to disappoint you. It used to be when we would do a James Bond themed parody, I'd have a whole opening animation. I should have done that. I apologize. How are you?
You're slacking off there, man.
Well, I have to cut the budget, everybody's cutting it to the bone in these days of Doge, Charles. This is the Department of Podcasting Efficiency, but I don't know if you got a chance to see the details of this parody image. Elon Musk is doing a great job with government efficiency, but he's having some baby mama drama. Seems to be his second best thing that he does. We got all these other, I don't know if you noticed this detail, but it's Trump playing golf over here looking for the gold at Fort Knox.
I couldn't see that actually, but that's hilarious.
007 billion.
Yeah. It's a very, very wonderful poster, and thanks to the art department for that one, Jason.
Thank you.
But you didn't get the message. First of all, you have to finish that email. What did you do last week? What are the 5 things you did last week or whatever? And you're not wearing a team shirt. I mean, I could send you one.
What do you mean? Oh, is this your yacht club that you're opening or whatever?
No, it's not the yacht club. It's if I do that, it'll be a ski club in a place where there's no snow. But it's the Penang Sports Club. It's their official tennis shirt.
Well, I am awful at tennis, Charles. It might be an embarrassment for you to see me play tennis, and I've never been to Penang, so I don't have the. I could swim. I don't see how that helps me with tennis, though. I'm quite good at swimming.
The club has a swimming pool. Very nice swimming pool.
Yeah,
and it has a
pool, though.
It has multiple restaurants, and I think you know how to eat. So.
That I do. Pickleball, Charles, it's all the rage. I know a tennis enthusiast like you absolutely loves the not at all stupid game of pickleball.
Yeah. Why don't you become a TikTok influencer? I mean, no thank you. Pickleball?
TikTok, it's been advertising on YouTube. It's quite interesting when something allows its competitor to advertise on there, but whatever. Charles, there has been, a lot of back and forth with Doge. I think that it's making good progress. They've been cutting waste. What do we know about this latest thing where apparently Kash Patel sent an email saying, nah, ignore that. The FBI doesn't have to adhere to Doge.
Well, yeah, I think that what Musk is doing is he's a bull in a china shop, and he's a bull in a china shop that the winning voters all wanted, and the losers, the people who are against efficiency and all for fraud, these people are just showing their true colors every day. So I can understand why if this dispute, I'm sure it has reached Trump now. If Trump thought about it, he might say, what, we really can't have FBI agents who are in theory prosecuting, investigating crimes, give updates to Doge on what they're doing. And we can't have people in the military do it. And we can't have people, State Department should be able to do it, I think. But there's certain elements that shouldn't do it, maybe. Or maybe Trump fires back and says, I order you to answer this email. And has a stern talk with Kash. And I think it's also Tulsi Gabbard said, hold off. And State Department said, hold off. But Musk makes excellent points here that one reason for sending the email out to all employees is to see how many of them are actually alive.
Exactly. Pulse check. It's a proof of life.
Right.
By the way, if you, Charles, wrote back and said, hey, project number 1, classified project. Project number 2, classified project. And then just wrote back, that could potentially be okay.
Yeah. But just the nerve of these people preening, they can't go on the Joy Reid show anymore, but preening before MSNBC and CNN and ABC and NBC and CBS in outrage over all this. One thing I have noticed is that the Team Stupid that's defending Biden and dumpster fire and Bush and other, I don't like using this phrase, but other retards, that team is not clever enough in the way they're spreading their message out. The message that James Carville sent and Jessica Tarloff echoed it immediately, suggesting to me that there still is something like the old-fashioned journalist, which did exist. It was a list of hundreds of names in the early days of email where the left coordinated, the points they wanted to spread in mainstream media and now, I guess, social media. But Jessica Tarloff immediately echoed this claim of Carville's that Trump's popularity is going to implode in the next 30 days. James Carville should drink less wild turkey and smoke less ganja. I mean, the man, he was interesting back in the 90s and helpful very much to the Clintons, but he's so in a different, he's in the last millennium, not the last decade or century. The real message that I think people are beginning to get now in both established parties is that both established parties are dead. The old way of doing things is over, where you can have different party chieftains, but whether it's the Turtle, Bitch McConnell, or Chuck Schumer,
all the relics.
All the relics, you got to be at least 75 before you can have any authority. But anyway, whether those people could go into smoke-filled rooms, delay making decisions, hold the populace up by threatening to have the government stop working and stop the funding, those days are over. People now understand, or should understand, that the largest expenditure each American makes, directly and indirectly, is on government. It's not on food. It's not on your home. It's on government, because the cost of government, first of all, you're not seeing the true cost of government because it's borrowing more than it's taking in. So it's racking up a huge line of credit debt. But when you carefully evaluate the cost of everything you buy, you will find that the largest slice of that, plus the income taxes and sales taxes and other taxes that you pay, state and local taxes, property taxes, that's the biggest slice of everything that you spend every year. Yeah. And what do you get for that? You get a bunch of arrogant fucktards,
right?
Which is worse than retard, fucktard. You get a bunch of these arrogant people who never get called to account. When they're asked to explain what they're doing, I can't discuss that. It might reveal sources and methods, or you don't have a need to know.
Ongoing investigation.
Yeah, or we're investigating, or why don't you give me a Freedom of Information Act request and I'll fill that. You get all your information within 25,000 years.
No, you won't.
25,000 years, right? Yes. So the point is that the people are fed up with this, and the mask has been pulled off, and we see underneath the mask. And the mask is disgusting. I mean, the reason everything takes so long in government is because nobody's actually doing anything. They just hire consultants and contractors.
Yeah.
They assert a need for climate change. Some 13-year-old idiot who's never passed a real science class gets up there and says the world's going to end in 8 years, and AOC says that's why I need $93 trillion. I mean, enough of this nonsense. The people see through that on both sides, and Trump has assembled a team of people who are already, which is already draining the swamp, and so people are complaining. Surprise, surprise. But Trump's popularity. I mean, the one person's popularity who is imploded is this idiot. I mean, it's shameful that her parents put her up to doing what she did. It's absolutely shameful. The notion that some adolescent child, male, female, is going to go to a meeting of world leaders and believe that she has a right, because she can live a long time, to address people at the UN. I would turf that bitch so far back to Scandinavia and say, listen, why don't you learn how to ski, do some cross-country skiing? And then we'll decide. It could be a very valuable skill, because the world is not going to end in 6 or 7 years on climate change. And if you learn how to cross-country ski, you can enjoy the climate throughout Scandinavia. And we could write little reports about it. And if you want to go on Instagram and send us pictures of a reindeer, go do that. But you're not coming to the UN. We don't give a shit what you think. And the people who've been promoting her and this climate scam and have scored hundreds of billions, if not trillions, they belong in prison. That was junk science. It was bullshit. And the amount of money that we're now going to not only save by not spending on this, but hopefully get back by going after the fraudsters. who scammed the taxpayer and scammed so many investors out of bullshit schemes. Get that money back, use it to pay down the debt.
Well, and also,
So
Charles, there's talk of using a portion of the money to initiate some research into Joy Reid's hair.
yeah, that would take that portion would be about 10 cents. That's all you need. I mean,
Could you imagine going out in public with that?
yeah. Or answer, does my hair look good?
Yeah, I mean, what the hell was she
No.
trying to do there?
Well, she had to pair it with that plaid jacket.
It's not a
So
parrot. It
yeah,
looks
no,
like a dead squirrel.
yeah, exactly. No, but the Doge dividend idea, yeah, maybe it gets shot down because it's on work because you really can't pay it down before you pay off. You pay a dividend before you pay off debt, but it's an interesting idea. Well, and let's bat it around a little. Give me some creative ideas coming out of the other side of the aisle. I mean, the one thing that really a big story that people haven't gotten to yet in my mind is in the waning days of the Dementia Joe and Do Me presidency. And incidentally, you saw that the thinking of running Howdy Doody and Do Me 2028.
No one's going to vote for those two idiots. That's going to be the most ridiculous.
I know it's just, but preposterous. But in the waning days when Biden still had some semblance of power, when Democrats controlled the Senate, when people across the media complex, or I should say the disinformation complex or the lie complex, when they thought Harris was going to be president, they were touting this idea that the only way to shut the border was to have comprehensive immigration reform
Right.
and give citizenship to all the illegal aliens, of which there could be as many as 30 million.
Crazy.
And that there were, well, that was their pitch. The reason the border was open was that Republicans had refused to entertain this, quote, compromise, which is not a compromise, but a surrender, and is ridiculous. So that was their theory, and they were pounding that on the Sunday shows, and all the pundits would say that kind of stuff. All the political experts would say that kind of stuff. Trump gets in, and in approximately 1 month, border crossings are down 94%. And Tom Homan is going to, I think, kick some serious Boston ass today and start going around to these sanctuary cities and saying, listen, just a city is not immune from federal law.
Right.
You are subject to federal law.
How they think they are.
Yeah, well, because you're Eric Adams, what's this woman's name in Boston? It's an Asian woman, I forget her name. But anyway, they have the local newspapers, the local TV, the local plutocrats. They all need something from her, so she thinks and Adams thinks they could all get something from the people who are living in their respective cities, and they start acting like dictators. Michelle Wu, yeah. Michelle Screwjob.
If she could be a doctor. Can you hear me, Dr. Wu?
No,
now,
I
Charles,
think actually she's one of those poor Asian women who probably didn't do well in school and can't play the piano, so she went into politics.
Oh, just to bring you back for a second, because you're talking about Greta Thunberg and the money wasted talking about carbon dioxide at the, World Economic Forum and the UN and all that crap. I know you're not going to object to this, but to be fair, we do have to discuss people going to CPAC and, treating it like this. But Pam Bondi should be prosecuting this thing, not attending it.
Right. And I think the brutal reality is that CPAC at the minute is the only game in town, right? There's
Kirk.
Parties, well, at the moment. I'm not saying it'll continue, but at the moment. And CPAC is also spreading its wings around the world. There are CPACs in many other countries that are allied to this. I agree, and we've documented it extensively. First of all, CPAC is part, in theory, of a charity and has never disclosed key elements of its own results. You can get financial statements and a report on the parent entity, where there are really, I think, two allied parents. There's the American Conservative Union Foundation, and there was the American Conservative Union, and we've done I don't know how many shows on that after your experience. Thankfully, not getting slapped, but maybe getting pushed around a little bit.
Like, look, we got two options. You can get physically ejected from the facility, or you can drive Matt Schlapp to the airport. It's like, okay, I'll leave.
I'll jump out the window.
By the way, I'm sure you saw this, but the Proud Boys were over there. First of all, January 6th people getting thrown out. Then,
right.
Enrique Tarrio was getting into some kind of argument with Michael Fastone. That guy is a weird cop. He's pretty thuggish for a cop.
Right, but just back on CPAC for a moment. On the one hand, in order to get the Republican nomination as a conservative, you have to win the straw poll at CPAC. That's just a fact if CPAC exists. But on the other hand, think of the coalition that Trump put together. It's not a typical conservative coalition. You have two former presidential candidates, recent former presidential candidates within the Democratic Party are part of the Trump cabinet. So he's already put together this kaleidoscope of interests that I don't think is Republican or Democratic. I think it's patriotic. And so there's a new patriotic swell. And if Bondi really wants to earn her spurs, as it were, in the pantheon of great attorney generals, she should now go after CPAC and all the other crooked foundations, of which the list is too long to mention in a 4-hour broadcast. There's a lot. Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, Lois Lerner, and many others corrupted the National Archives. Creating, what used to be libraries are now vehicles for former presidents to become billionaires, and that is ridiculous. The Obama Foundation is a gross joke. Clinton Foundation, we'll talk about it in the paid portion, but. There's just too many examples of odious charity fraud, and that the Schlapper was brought into the American Conservative Union because David Keene was so outrageous they had to get rid of him, and he was supposed to be he was a young, supposedly force for good. Since having been brought in, he's created his own political consulting firm, and he lives in a gigantic home, which I don't think he inherited. And there are very legitimate questions about the cross-pollination between his political consulting activities and this fiefdom that he runs, this growing fiefdom that he still runs, even though he's been the subject of 2 investigations into his airport transportation service. I mean,
it's funny. It won't let me bring up that article for some reason.
Yeah. Well, so I hope that we're going to see shortly that it's impossible to try to continue protecting the Clintons, the Epstein people, the Epstein vacation people.
Epstein
what is
vacation. The island. It's a vacation. It's an excursion package with Jeffrey Epstein.
What's that rapper called? Puff Diddley?
Oh, P. Diddy. Well, Charles, we didn't discuss this, but his lawyer from the criminal case withdrew among sort of mysterious circumstances, saying like under no circumstances can he work for P. Diddy. We don't really
he was
know
probably
what's gonna
threatened. As a guess, he was probably threatened. P. Diddy wanted him to do something, and he said no. And Diddy said, "You don't do this, you don't live." As a guess.
I just wonder if it's connected somehow to Eric Adams. I mean, there's a lot of stuff happening in that case. And of course, everybody remembers, Eric Adams gave P. Diddy the key to the city. I wonder if Eric Adams was slapping anybody at the, whatever, the get down parties,
the freak-offs. Yeah.
Freak-off parties,
And there are rumors circulating that Obama was at those parties. That wouldn't shock me at all.
Yeah. No, I mean, listen,
that's
2008, 9, 10, after the MTV Music Awards, a party at P. Diddy's house, anybody who's anybody would have been there.
Right. And did you see that Gutfeld went in a certain direction, and that the question of Obama's birth certificate is now very much back in focus. But did you see what Gutfeld said?
Did not.
Yeah, Gutfeld's show on Fox, I believe, is the one, if not the top late night show. It's
Yeah.
certainly, yeah. So he just starts off with a long riff talking about different topical stories, and in the middle of it, he says, "Yes, and the rumors are that the Obamas are in trouble. The marriage is in trouble, but I hope they'll settle it like men."
Ooh. Charles, I unearthed this video, one of the first videos I made when I started Crowdsource the Truth, about the birth certificate, where I went over, Sheriff Joe Arpaio's press conference here, where he pointed out the 9 different points of forgery. A lot of people haven't seen this video, so you're right. I mean, it is getting some new traction. And then the same stupid points come up where people are like, oh, that's what it does in Adobe Illustrator 3.0. I said, no, it's not.
Well, actually, I think I circulated this or something like it, and a community note appeared, and what it said was that it had several points, but one of them that was most obviously wrong is it said, here is a link to Obama's birth certificate in the National Archives or something like that, and that the document that is that is linked in public view is not his hard copy birth certificate. It just isn't. And even Obama, grudgingly has to admit, when you look at his ridiculous memoir that I have on another table nearby, he says that he directed his lawyers to retrieve a copy of his birth certificate from the physical, he doesn't use these exact words, but from the physical book that's in the archives on the shelves in Hawaii, and that is not this document.
But not only that, Charles, we've looked at this before. This is the very document on, nationalarchives.gov. And you can see it right here. Just looking at that video we saw a moment ago that broke down the different image layer components of this, you can see that this 1 is a different color than the 6. And, you and I are old enough to have seen this type of red ink stamper with the rubber date that you advance 1 digit and you dip it on the blotter, stamp it on the page. There's no practical way to get one of the digits on a stamper like that to be a different color of ink.
Right. And it's, again, that so much energy. I mean, the real issue is, now that we understand how involved the FBI, the CIA, other elements of the deep state in our country and other countries have been involved promoting feckless fools. Exhibit A is today Zelensky. I mean, how did this comedic idiot, get his TV show where he somehow became a president of I guess Ukraine in a TV show, and then in real life? And how are we saying, now wait a minute, was this all staged? Now that we know that USAID was funding 95% of the media, I would say probably 100, but 95% of the media in Ukraine. Do we not believe that Zelensky himself is a plant?
Oh, totally.
Right? And how many? And Trudeau, another one, and W. Bush, and Obama, and maybe Clinton himself, and a whole bunch of people, I think, around the world have been propped up and installed in positions where they technically can say they're president or prime minister or whatever of a country, but in reality, their strings are pulled by people like Sir Richard Dearlove and Alexander Downer and John Brennan, and this has to end. This mayhem.
They didn't force him to marry his dad, Charles.
Yet.
It's like France.
How I Married My Father. Yeah, I mean, that's really sick.
Candace's latest findings. But Charles, listen, we're coming to the close of our intro segment here. We're going to carry on the conversation. For people who sponsor the show, I have to thank everybody who's doing that tremendously. If you aren't already a sponsor, please join us on odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth, crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com, and subscribestar.com or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. Charles, there's one other really important aspect of the Barack Obama birth certificate that you pointed out. I want to go back into that and we'll talk about other things. Stay with us, everybody. We have a lot more